Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Get Busy with Kit and Jim. You guys are in for a treat today. We're going across the pond. We connected with Rick Eliason, and he happily agreed to be on the show today, and so we are so glad to have him. We are going to rock out. We are going to disrupt the plus this morning. Right, guys?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to give a quick shout out to those who are on the panel this morning. Hey, Carolyn, what's going on?
Hey, good morning, Jim. How's it going?
Awesome. So excited to be here.
Yes, me too. Looking forward to hearing from Rick.
Yeah, me too. Hey, Greg, good morning. How's it going?
Morning. Pretty decent. As you can see, I woke up early enough to put on a shirt for the show.
Yeah.
Damn, I hate that.
I see you're rocking the. Let's get into this right away, just for a minute. So I see you're rocking the Plus Your charity.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. When is that hangout going to happen?
Well, we're kind of jumping through several different hangouts this week, talking about it. But what it really is it's an auction for the shoes, and I'm sure you saw the post. It's for the shoes that I wore during the Walk a Mile event to raise awareness for domestic violence in basically in the Orlando community for Harbor House of Central Florida, which does an amazing job helping really anybody that's in a domestic violence situation with their campus that's in a remote location and very secure. They have an on-site kennel and certified daycare, so that way survivors of domestic violence can bring their pets as well as their children as well and make sure that all of their loved ones are safe from harm. So Dennis Deuce actually had seen me and Carolyn talking about what we were doing with Harbor House, and he approached me and asked if I would be willing to auction off the shoes that I wore for this event, and we started to put this together, and he decided that he was going to kind of throw his own little event for the Walk a Mile as well, got a pair of high heels, and he's going to be doing this on Wednesday, and so he's going to be walking a mile in high heels, and then he's also going to be auctioning off his pair of high heels. And I think he also has another side wager of the more money that we raise before he walks, the more ridiculous his outfit is going to get as well.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so he's going to walk on Wednesday. Is he going to do that live on an HOA?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, so we'll be. Has an event page been set up for that yet?
Yeah, I'll share it into the event.
Wow. Okay. Craziness. So let's raise as much money as we can, so we can have Mr. Deuce dressed all crazy.
And all of the money goes directly to Harbor House. We've set up a donation page on their donation platform, so Plus Your Charity sees none of the money at all. It goes right into the hands of the people that need it most.
Yeah, that's great, and I think it's an awesome place. You know, there are a lot of people who love their pets, you know, sometimes as much as any other family member, and having the ability to find a safe harbor, right, that allows you to bring your pets with you is awesome. That's great. So kudos to you. And I love.
Some people actually. Oh.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say some people actually delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them, and they put themselves further at risk. And the daycare is a big deal as well because statistically, people won't leave, of course, without their children, and they'll leave and wait until the school year is over to plan their leave because they don't want to pull the kid out of school and disrupt their life. So having these types of resources is really a big deal. I mean, this is a problem that is a cycle. A lot of people that grow up in houses with domestic violence end up growing up and committing domestic violence. So the more resources and awareness that we have of this, the better chances are that we can actually squash the problem altogether.
That's great, and kudos to both you and Carolyn for supporting such an awesome cause and doing the crazy dance that you did in those heels when you walked a mile. I'll never get that out of my head. It's burned in my head forever.
I know,
We're going to reenact it, maybe.
it's so unfair. He looks cute doing anything.
And so
I'm
do
trying to
you.
get back on good. I'm trying to avenge my honor with Greg, but it's not happening. He's always cute, so. But I'm still waiting for my turn.
I don't know. I don't think that I'm definitely not the cutest one on the panel. There are at least 2 other women on here that are way cuter than me, and there's no way that I can compete with the accent. Like that's.
Hey, Kit. Good morning. Good morning, Kit.
Morning.
How's it going in sunny Chicago?
It's actually not sunny, but it's actually warm, which I love. So
Nice.
it was like gloomy and dry and 80 degrees, my kind of weather. So I'm in really good spirits right now.
Excellent. Hey, welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, and without further ado, Rick Eliason, welcome all the way from a suburb north of London, England. We are so glad to have you today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Loving the accent, by the way. So why don't we start out, we always love to have people who come on the show as our guests just kind of tell us a little bit about their story. So if you can tell us your story, maybe touch a little bit on what it's like growing up in the UK. How I know you've visited the States, so maybe you can touch on a little bit about some of the culture differences between the 2 places. And yeah, we'll start with that.
Yeah, sure. So I got into digital marketing purely by accident, really. So I did a business degree at university because I was kind of hoping to get into web design, that sort of thing, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do at this point. And did my degree and things, and basically I came out of it thinking this has not got me any closer to what I want to be doing. So I started playing around with, building a couple of websites here and there for friends and family and things like that, and for myself, and got really kind of disheartened that none of them were seeing any traffic whatsoever. You'd get like 1 person a day or something, and that'd be a good thing. So I kind of stumbled into SEO from that point, and yeah, I haven't really looked back since. I've loved every minute of it. So got into kind of a supporting web role at a little independent garden centre, working on their websites and things like that. Which point I got to dip my fingers into PPC, SEO, social media marketing, various other bits and bobs like that. And then one day I got essentially headhunted by the company I work for now. So I work for an agency called Reload Digital, based in London. And yeah, basically I concentrate mainly on SEO, but I've got a huge interest in how social media marketing works, and particularly obviously Google Plus and things like that. And it's just kind of bred this huge Google geekiness now. I love Google and everything they do, all their products, everything like that, and Google Plus is no different. And that's kind of exhibited by, whenever I get the opportunity, I will go to, Google headquarters and things like that. So I've been lucky enough to go to both the London Google and the one in Mountain View as well, which I know you put up a few photos of both, I think, actually. So the photo of us standing in front of the Union Jack, that was in the London office, and there's a few on the Google bikes in the US office as well.
Hey, you even broke into the Facebook office. That was pretty cool, huh?
You say broke in? No, I know a guy. I went to school with a guy who's a developer at Facebook, so he invited us there. It, but the breaking is more true to Mountain View. We went on a Sunday when it was absolutely deserted. I think they had like some sort of event going on because you hear like music in the background and things like that, and there's loads of security everywhere. But nonetheless, we parked up in car parks next to kind of the YouTube offices, and saw all these, a big rack of these Google bikes, and we thought, this is too good to pass up. So yeah, we got on them and went kind of down there's a main kind of highway on the campus that takes you right down the middle of the campus, and they must have like caught us on CCTV or something like that, because we got to the end of the road and there was this burly looking security guard just like, no, get off. He was actually quite a friendly guard. But yeah, that was my only brush with the law, actually. It was about as bad as
Simple pleasures. Brush with the law.
That's awesome. Hey, so
Worth it.
yeah, tell us a little bit. So I'm curious about what it's like growing up in England and what that experience is like, and how that kind of framed you to become who you are today.
It's not hugely different to the US. I mean, the times I've been to the US, I've noticed that people tend to be a hell of a lot more friendlier for whatever reason. So particularly when you go into shops and restaurants and things like that. Maybe it's specific to the service industry. I don't know, but people just seem to be super friendly and will go out of their way to help you. Whereas, I don't know, I don't really think you get that in England that much. I'm probably pissing off like loads of people. But,
That's all right.
There is a
Go for it.
difference, I think. You hear stories about rubbish weather in England, and it's just so true. I mean, it's grey where I am now. It's been on and off raining and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I've grown up in quite small towns my whole life. I grew up in a town called Hitchin. Basically, all my family are kind of around me. I've got so my mum and dad are separated, but they live in towns either side of me. I've moved slightly westward to Hertford now. I've got my grandparents in another town nearby and things like that. So I haven't really ventured out of Hertfordshire that much, apart from obviously to London, which is where I work every day.
That's great. So I know. To seg a little bit, I know you're a fanatic about snowboarding. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And I think you actually had a close encounter with a big rock, right? One time when you were snowboarding.
Yeah. So yeah, one of my friends got me into snowboarding one year. This is probably about 12 years ago now. I was lucky enough to go along with him and his family. We just had it's one of those sports that looks so cool, and I just knew I'd love it. So I was lucky enough to go out and try it, and I've been going pretty much every year since. But unfortunately, about 3 years ago, had a minor comeuppance where I was going off piste with my friend, and we were going kind of down the side of the mountain, really. And we saw just in the distance this area of the most pristine, untouched snow. And we thought, okay, yeah, let's go there. Let's head for that. So we headed down the hill, or mountain, should I say? And we got to this sheer cliffside. Abruptly stopped, thinking, oh Christ, what the hell are we going to do now? Because it's hard enough, we wouldn't have been able to get really back up without, essentially climbing. So we were sat on the edge of this kind of ravine, which turned out to be like a frozen waterfall.
Oh wow!
Just wondering what to do, and then suddenly, kind of, it started giving way. Like the snow underneath me started giving way. And yeah, I slipped off the edge, and the only thing I really remember thinking is, as like, I saw rocks and things coming towards me, was like, please don't let it be painful, just let it be instant. And that was my last thought, and I must have hit the ground and blacked out a bit. Came to, and I was essentially a couple of meters away from jagged rocks that side, a couple of meters away from jagged rocks that side, and on the only piece of kind of soft snow for like several meters all around me, so I was massively lucky there. It could have been a lot more messy.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Amazing story. So hey guys on the panel, do you have any questions for Rick?
No, just keep talking. I love your accent. Just keep going. Keep going.
Or something else to do as well.
Sure. Being being an SEO, because I kind of started in a similar way. I don't really do SEO, but I do. But it's mostly because I started with web development and web design, and building up from there. And Carolyn, my business partner, actually does a lot of content, and so as we started to work together on this, we decided that SEO was kind of exactly within what we should be providing, especially with the changes that Google has been going through, and how important it is to actually connect with the audience, as well as the technical sides of SEO. So my question is, when you discovered Google Plus, did it click right away? Did you just look at this and say, like, oh my goodness, this is genius? And even if what people theorize is going on with Google Plus right now and SEO isn't actually happening at the moment, do you think that that's something that we are going to see in the future?
I personally have no doubt that it will impact SEO positively in the future. I'm actually seeing kind of anecdotal data to suggest it's already, and certainly with my site, it's impacting my work. So I wonder if I can actually share my screen with you. Essentially,
yes.
How would I go about that?
It's the icon on the left that has a screen, and it has a white arrow in it.
Okay, the green one, yeah?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, let me just try this a sec.
If we didn't say this before, this is Rick's very first time on a Hangout, so we are debuting a star right here on Get Busy.
A superstar.
I'm sure that now that everyone knows that he's gone to his first HOA, now everybody's going to want you on the panel.
Well, hopefully, if this goes right, then yeah, they can have me. Okay, so how do I share the screen? I'm not entirely sure. I'll tell you what, it might just be easier if I explain it. Basically, I spent the last year or so writing articles for my website and getting okay traffic and things like that. I was on Google Plus purely at the start for SEO purposes. I thought it would have an impact on things I was doing, plus I wanted to learn on behalf of my clients and things like that. But what I started seeing was when I really started getting into Google Plus, putting out great content, starting to get the engagement that some of the big hitters were getting, etc. I started seeing some really good results in terms of organic traffic coming to my site. I really wish I could share my screen with you because it's quite ridiculous. Like my graph for organic traffic is just like going like that every month. It's just going up and up and up, and that's on top of any referral traffic that I'm getting from Google Plus as well. So I know it's not conclusive data yet. I'd love to see like if anyone else is seeing this sort of thing, but certainly for me, it's enough to keep me going and see how this pans out. I definitely think Google Plus is going to have an impact on SEO.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Just using Google Plus as well. We used to use Facebook a lot more and be more active on Twitter as well. Though we kind of dropped off those a little bit and started engaging on Google Plus a lot more, and our organic traffic has actually been pretty decent and grows and contracts, but I think that's just really dependent on what keywords and what phrases that we're targeting, and I see we fluctuate anywhere from number 1 to number 4 So whenever I see us dropping to 4, of course, I'm trying to just look at the competition and see if they're doing anything that's ranking them higher or what it is. But with Google Plus, having those additional posts, I've seen to where that I'll do a non-signed in search on a browser, and or I'll try even other location search, and because of Google Plus posts, I've actually taken 3 spots on the front page for high traffic keywords. So, just that strategy alone, using it to supplement already well-ranking pages, it just increases it and bumps more people off of the first page and makes you kind of the only result.
Precisely, yeah. This is what some of my clients don't really understand, is the fact that Google Plus posts are essentially web pages in their own right. They can rank alongside your other content, so you can steal kind of real estate from your competitors if you're quite strategic about it.
Yep.
So a bonus to it.
So what do you think about... Oh, go ahead.
I'll add to that, obviously, because these posts are instantly indexed as well, it can really help you if you've got like kind of topical or timely information that you want to get out there. It can really help you kind of get ahead of your competitors in that respect as well.
Exactly. Not to mention the ability to build relationships with other people.
Yeah, precisely.
And other people who might have an even bigger reach and be able to get your message out even further.
Precisely.
I was wondering if you'd speak a little bit to your blogging strategy and how you got into all the content creating that you do.
Yeah, I mean, it was predominantly there just because I've got this mental goal to establish myself in the industry and become kind of a recognized name in my industry. So Hangouts on Air is one step of that towards that, because I'm trying to build up my confidence so that I can do kind of more speaking gigs and things like that. But yeah, essentially the overriding goal is to kind of establish my name as kind of recognized in the industry. And the blog is to supplement that, hopefully by getting lots of great content out there. It kind of does the talking for me. People start to know that I kind of know what I'm talking about. They start to follow me through Google Plus or follow my posts on my blog, or share my stuff out, etc. And hopefully that's just going to kind of reinforce that. So that was the reason I started it. I also like playing around with like how different elements can affect how people interact with your site as well. So I use it as kind of like a testing ground for both my employers' blogs, my clients' blogs, and things like that. So I can try a certain feature. If it works well, if I see that it gets good traction or whatever it might be, I can then try it on their blog and things like that. And so that's essentially what it's there for those two main reasons.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you've successfully tested through the blog?
Certain things like, have you heard of Hello Bar? So inserts kind of like a link at the top of your site that and that can be like a call to action to any particular piece of content or external site that you want to point it to. Things like how you help people discover more content on your site, so the way you present additional content leading off from that particular article that they're looking at, different commenting functionality, different ways of creating an aesthetically pleasing blog, so playing around with imagery and formatting of your posts and things like that. It doesn't all work, but I tend to do things that I've read about that other people had success with and roll it out onto mine, and generally see some success there. So it's all kind of like an iterative thing. It's just I'm just building up over time.
Well, you got to give it a try, and definitely everyone in our industry knows how important it is to A/B test to find out what really, really works.
Absolutely. So another thing I've tried is what's it called? I want to say Quick Sprout, but it's not. It's done by the same. Is it Kiss? Tricks. But anyway, it's like a heat mapping tool, so I can understand like how people are actually interacting with like on my site and things like that. I managed to get like a free trial to that, kind of like
that's Neil Patel's thing, right?
Yeah. It's not Quick Sprout, is it? I'm trying to think what it's called.
No, it's darn it, I was just reading about this the other day too.
Are you thinking of Crazy Egg?
Crazy Egg, yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see like how people do interact with your page, because it's completely different. Well, for me, it was completely different to how I thought they'd be interacting and what certain elements they were interacting with. So I definitely recommend trying that out if you are trying to understand how people are navigating through your site and interacting with your blogs and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to hear that it's something that works too. Good solid tool. I'd expect nothing else from him though.
Yeah, no,
I have a question. About how much time do you say you spend either per article or per day or per week blogging? Question one. And question two, how do you come up with fresh content every time you post?
Okay, so with blog posts, I would say I will dedicate a minimum of 4 hours to a blog post, but it massively depends on what I'm writing about and whether that requires extra research and things like that. I don't want to put out anything subpar, so and plus it's amazing me every time how long it takes to get the formatting right of a blog post. I want it to look good, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to that, and I'll try something, I'll try something else, and before you know it, it's like 2 hours have passed, and you've just been messing around with like 1 or 2 images, and it gets pretty ridiculous in that respect. But I have to say, I haven't released a new blog post since November, I think. So this is going back to what I was saying about Google Plus having an influence on my organic traffic. I have not released a new blog post on my site or done any more SEO or any link building or anything like that yet, because of Google Plus alone. I've seen my organic traffic just cumulatively increase like month on month since I started actively using Google Plus. So this kind of feeds into my ideas that it does affect SEO. Sorry, what was your second question?
Okay, wait, I have a follow-up question then on that. So how do you think, I'm trying to make the connection between using Google Plus and traffic going onto your website. So how do you think that happens? Do they go onto your website after they see your post because they want to check you out, or how do you think that's happening?
I think it's potentially 3 different ways. So first of all, I do promote my content on Google Plus, and as my followers increase, it means that they're going out to a wider audience and stuff like that. So that's got the potential to drive more links, drive more social shares and things to that particular piece of content. The fact that I'm kind of building my authority, so I'm getting cumulatively kind of more engagement on my posts, I'm building up my following, I'm getting lots more comments and things like that. I suspect because my Google Plus profile is connected with my website, I suspect Google has connected the two, and it thinks because your authority here is strong, the authority of your website must be strong, etc. So kind of as my authority of my Google Plus profile has gone up, I think that it's affected the authority of my website as well. But that's purely anecdotal. That's purely just basing that on what I've seen from my personal website. And the third reason is because you know how Google Plus impacts personalized search. So if you follow someone and you do a Google search and they've written something about that particular search or something that matches that search query, you're more likely to see a result from them. So I suspect that's helped as well. So as my reach has got a bit further, as my kind of my following's grown, more people are stumbling over my content organically in search results, which could be again driving traffic. So those are the reasons, really.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so then the other question, the second question was, what inspires you to create new content? And even when you're posting on Google Plus, right? You're posting content, so you're creating images or posting images. So what is the inspiration? How do you kind of keep it fresh, keep it, lively?
it's purely what interests me. I know there's lots of strategies about, combing through forums and things like that, finding out what people are kind of asking and what kind of content people are looking for, and writing content around that to satisfy a need. And I totally get that, and that's what I recommend people do. But what I do is, because I only got a certain amount of time spare each night, I will tend to write about things that interest me, because that way I can, I learn at the same time. I can get my passion across in those posts and things like that. And I'm ultimately going to be more proud of my work that way. When I get really serious about my blog, then I will be kind of trying to find where those content gaps are and those needs are, and that's where I'll properly ramp it up based on kind of what users are looking for. But at the moment, it's purely like. So, for instance, latest blogs I've written about was I watched a couple of hangouts with Eric Enger. You may have caught them. So one was on the Plus Post ads, and one was on shoppable hangouts. Both topics that are just so, well, for me, they're just so interesting. Like, to see these kind of developments that Google are coming up with, and to see how it sort of plays into their overall plan for like Google Plus and Google as a wider entity. That's where my interests lie, and that's the sort of stuff I love writing about. And because of that, I will delve so deep into these subjects and hopefully dig up lots of information that people have either overlooked or not necessarily known about. And hopefully that's what makes it a good blog, because you've got all that cool information in there.
Right. Yeah, I agree, Rick, and I think you're doing the right thing, because by blogging your passion, you're attracting people who have the same interests that you do, right? So you're attracting your niche market. So I say kudos and keep on with that. So hey, panel, do the rest of you guys have any other questions or comments? A few more questions, and then I want to get into, actually, maybe Carolyn or Greg, if you have some questions regarding small businesses and maybe the secret sauce, the Google Plus secret sauce that entrepreneurs can use to get, to be disruptive through Plus.
Sure.
Can I?
Rick, do you?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, I just want to say that I posted Rick's website, and then I just read this amazing article that he wrote about how I got my first 250 followers on Google Plus. It's comprehensive. I mean, everyone should read it. So it's in the comment section.
I can't wait to read that. That's going to be awesome. Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, Rick, I want to know, how successful have you been at persuading small businesses or businesses in your area onto Google Plus? Because I'll tell you right now, it's been a challenging thing for Greg and I think Jim as well, to basically go out and be Google Plus evangelists in our respective areas. Just to basically shout it from the rooftops until people are sick of it, that we love Google Plus and it's a great place to be. So what have you run into with that?
It's totally mirrored that. Yeah, some of my clients are very trusting of us, and they'll be, yeah, just go for it. Let's do it. Others will be just, what's the point? It's another social network I've got to spend time on. I can't be bothered with this. I like to think that our passion for Google Plus, and I say ours as kind of a business, we're all kind of we're all into it. We know kind of its potential power and things like that. So I think passion, the way we speak about it, does eventually convince people that it's kind of the way to go. But what we've been doing is we've actually kind of taken it upon ourselves to actually go into these businesses, sit them down, and talk them through the platform. Because what we found is it's more about the fear of using this platform that they're not very used to, having to spend time learning about it, investing time coming up with content ideas, etc. So what we've done is we've taken out all the kind of the problems for them. We've gone in, talked them through for a couple of hours, taking them through the platform. We go away and we come up with a whole list of ideas of what they could be posting and things like that, and it takes out all the trouble for them, and that's kind of the winning strategy. It's a lot of work for us, but eventually it gets it through to them. They're happy to continue with it, and what we're hopefully going to see from that investment in time is, good results for their SEO campaigns if Google Plus goes the way we think it's going to go.
It does seem to make a difference, and the more energy you invest in the relationships and the content creation, the more the benefit you see. Yeah, I mean, I had a rather heartwarming moment last night. We were on the Craft Star show to kick off this Plus or Charity thing that we're doing, right? And so I'd invited Harbor House, the charity that we're benefiting, to have their social media person sign on to the Google Plus page and join us, of course. And she's not super familiar with Google Plus. In fact, in our first meeting, she said that she wasn't sure that Google Plus would ever take off. And Greg and I'm afraid, couldn't help from bursting out laughing. It was just too much. But we were quite delighted to hear that now since talking to us, she's been exploring it for them a little bit more. And since we're all over the place talking to them about it, we've persuaded them to show up in some HOA audiences. And all of a sudden she's saying, you know what, this is cool. People talk to you. They're so interactive. Everybody's so nice. So I was just grinning from ear to ear after that last night.
And I think Hangouts are kind of the clincher, aren't they? I've talked about the various elements of what you can be posting on Google Plus and things like that, how you can use it for SEO, etc. But it's when you get to the topic of Hangouts, and all the different cool things you can do with it. If you're just a little bit creative, that tends to be the clincher for them. I mean, a lot of them just seem to, they want their 15 minutes of fame. They want to be on TV, as it were, and stuff like that. And Hangouts is kind of the closest they can get to that. And as soon as you talk about the various ways you can connect with the audience through Hangouts, that's it. You kind of got them after that. It
really does, I think, work that way. And I know I'm sorry that Dennis Deuce couldn't be here to have that part of the conversation with us. Because I know that's basically his entire thing. He basically uses Hangouts to coerce businesses onto Google Plus, and it seems it seems effective, and they have a lot of fun with the shows that they do, Pond Boys and the other stuff. So it's really nice to see.
It's a brilliant way to tell your story, right? I mean, how better can you tell your story than by doing it in person and people can see your face and your reactions, and yeah, it's just brilliant.
Exactly.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I have noticed about Google Plus is that it's very, it's kind of skewed towards the expert. So if you're an expert on something, I would say this is the platform to be on because people are willing to listen to you, which is something that's not really found anywhere else. But how would you suggest somebody who's just starting out in the industry, like I'm a novice blogger, okay? How would you suggest I use Google Plus to, maybe get to a point where people start talking to me and I get some traffic on my website?
So the first thing I always say to clients is get involved in communities, purely because, if they've got 10 followers when they're just starting out and they post something, a maximum of 10 people are going to see that post on a good day, and it's going to yield nothing back, and they're going to get disheartened and stuff. Whereas if they were to put that same post in a community with 1,000 people, for instance, potentially 1,000 people could see that post. They're going to get far more traction, and that's going to, egg them on to post more and stuff like that. So I always get them to get involved in communities that are relevant to their business, where their audiences are going to be hanging out and where they can actually add kind of a bit of value to that community. I'm always very careful to say, this is not a place to post links to your latest blog or post your products or whatever, things like that. It's work for businesses that are willing to help, businesses that have some they want to share their knowledge. That's who it's going to work for. People that just want the shortcuts of just posting their content and running are going to get nothing out of it. Having said that, you do want to post 1 in 10 posts to your actual profile just to keep it fresh and things. But yeah, I'd say 90% of your posts when you're starting out, just get involved in communities.
Thank you. Something I've not tried. Okay. Jim, do you want to? Are you muted?
Yeah, sure. I was muted. Okay, so let's jump into the topic of what's going to be the future for Google Plus now that our good buddy Vic G is gone. I haven't actually seen, and maybe I'm just not in the right circles, but I haven't seen too much from the new guy. So let's have a conversation about what do we think the future of Google Plus is. And I've actually, every single one of my clients that I'm working with that in the Google sphere, right, have come to me and told me that Google's going away, right? So that's the kind of, I think, concern that's out there now with the general public and maybe with some smaller businesses.
Yes, thank you so much to the media for that one.
Yeah, exactly. But because of that, right? Because of that, now there's a lot of concern about should I invest all of this time and effort that it takes to get acclimated with Google Plus, or should I just continue on with Facebook and Pinterest and, do you know what I mean? So yeah, so and panel, I open this up to you guys as well. So let's talk about the future of Google Plus and where we think it's going to go. Let's make some predictions, right? Even if, I mean, we can because we can, right? Even if they're wrong. But yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, I'll let Rick go first on this, but I have some pretty definitive opinions on what Google Plus is and what they're doing.
Okay. Well, I definitely don't think Google Plus is going away. I think Google have invested way too much into it. And to quote Mark Traphagen, you know, because Google Plus is so intertwined with everything, getting rid of it would be just like ripping out the central nervous system. And I completely agree with that quote. On top of that, I mean, Google Plus is still rolling out features. I mean, post ads came out, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's not really a sign that, you know, they're winding down Google Plus. And on top of that, you know, Larry Page, Dick Tundra, etc., they're still posting on Google Plus. They're not really signs to me that Google Plus is going away anytime soon.
Yep, I would have to agree with that. Google Plus is not going to go anywhere. In fact, they're going to release more and more features as time goes on. With the Google I/O coming up, I'm sure there's going to be a slew of new features that are going to be launched with Google Plus. And the main reason I think that it's not going to go away is Google never really intended this to be a successful social network. That's just an element of it that brings people to it and builds those connections. What Google Plus really is a human identifying network. It's so that way Google can understand who exists within their community, what people are using on the web, and how to best deliver information. And this is you know, something that we see in authorship as well, when being able to attribute a particular person with writings across the web, no matter what blog you happen to write it on, so that way Google can understand who you are as an individual, what makes you tick, and how best to present the data that they have stored in their gigantic vaults of different hard drives. You know, I'm sure they know more about your spouses than you do. You know, they might know more about you than you do. So with that type of information and being able to literally attribute it to, okay, all of this data belongs to this person, they can deliver the right marketing to you at the right moment. Just, you know, people forget that Google's largest source of income is through AdWords. And if anything that they build is going to really supplement AdWords, hence the new post ads, which supplements AdWords, and then not only that, as I've explained, the marketing data that they're cultivating in order to know what they have to say and how they have to present it in order to make you buy their AdWords client's product.
Absolutely, yeah. And sorry, James, just going back to your original, what you said about convincing clients should they invest time in Google Plus, perhaps taking that time away from Facebook and Twitter, etc., what's working for them. I think that if Facebook is working for them, or if Pinterest is working for them, if that's where their audience is, Google Plus shouldn't be taking necessarily time away from them. They should still concentrate on those platforms, but just add Google Plus into the marketing mix. That's the main thing, because it's going to potentially affect their search visibility. It's going to it ties into if they use AdWords and things like that. There's various tie-ins to that. If they use YouTube as part of their marketing mix, it ties into that and things like that. But ultimately, we're not saying completely discount Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest, etc. But just be aware of the power of Google Plus.
Yeah, and I think that's especially true if you want if the business goal relates to getting search traffic to their website, getting discovered via search. It's tough to do that via Facebook because Facebook isn't indexed by Google. That's just the hard facts of it. So whatever you post on Facebook will be useful within Facebook to whatever degree it gets shared and commented on and passed around, and that's wonderful, of course. And if a business has something good going there, there's no reason to necessarily stop it. But if they also then want to hedge their bets and get people discovering who they are and where they are in the Google search engine, then Google Plus becomes a no-brainer. And I agree with both Rick and Greg. I think the rumors of the demise of Google Plus are so greatly exaggerated as to be unreasonable almost. The idea to me that any corporation would, especially of the scale of Google and of the Google Plus division itself, the idea that they wouldn't just have a transition plan in mind and that they would have built it all around Vic being there is ludicrous to me.
That's exactly what I think. I mean, I don't think a platform is going to crumble because one person left the company or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, everyone thought that was going to happen when Steve Jobs died, and everyone thought Apple was going to go away. And
the media
granted that
everything.
Exactly. And it seems like they have it out for Google Plus a lot of the time, perhaps because they don't take the time to understand it.
I think it happens to every platform. There's always negativity around that. I mean, the people who really know the platform don't really pay attention to it. So
I agree. The frustration with Google is they have a history, like with Google Buzz and with Google Reader, and with platforms that are somewhat popular, and then they kill them. And I know this one is completely different. It's a completely different animal. People's perception, right, is their reality. And so their perception, their reality, is what we as business people have to deal with, right? And so we have to be savvy. We have to kind of see it from their perspective, right? And be really, I guess, kind of smart about the way that we approach them and the way that we sell Google. And it is a little bit frustrating to me from the standpoint of they had a perfect opportunity when Vic left to really take a stand, take a strong stand, be very, very clear about the direction of Google Plus. And I don't think they've done that. I think Larry Page has said some things, but I don't think he's been crystal clear about the future of Google Plus. And because of that, I think that just kind of adds to the concern of people who aren't familiar with Google Plus. And I think it even bugs those of us who love the platform a little bit as well. It's like, there's just this kind of feeling of unease, not a huge feeling, but just that kind of nagging little feeling of, okay, we're going down this path again. Do you know what I mean? I think that, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Greg.
Go ahead. No, Carol, go ahead.
Well, I think there's definitely that sense of unease because Google is known for retiring things that aren't going in the direction that they want to, even when they are semi-popular, like Google Reader was. Google Plus is of course different in many ways. It's interlinked so closely now with so many of their services that it's difficult to imagine them rolling that back. They'd have to come up with a really, really solid replacement. But really, you know, the way I see it, I mean, I was actually on Google Buzz and using it and using Google Wave actively, even when that was a thing, which was difficult because almost I couldn't get anybody to try it out with me. It was really frustrating because I thought it was really fun. But you know, I think that Google Plus is the natural evolution of those two services, combined with Reader, combined with a few other things. It's just a more palatable thing that people can sort of understand a little bit better than they could either of those services. So I think, I mean, it is tough to explain to people, but I just think it's so intertwined right now that it's difficult to see that happening.
Yeah, and I don't think Google is going to back out of the, you know, social media pie. I mean, they would want to.
It's silly for a data collection company.
Yeah, I mean, they would want to compete with the rest of the big guys out there, and they are, you know, well poised to do it because of all the information that they already have at their fingertips. So it's just a ridiculous rumor. So I don't think anything is going to come off it, you know. But yeah, I can understand why small businesses who have not yet understood Google Plus will be even more scared to try it now. I think somebody should come up and just say, hey, we're not going away, or, you know, something that's clear and that makes it, you know, kind of like you said, crystal clear that this one person is left. Okay, that's a blow, but you know what? We have a plan. So I think that's very important that Google does it, and I would actually blame them for not doing it so far. I think, you know, I've seen this happening with every platform. They just don't explain what they're doing. It's just quite frustrating. You don't know why they're doing what they're doing. You know, and then, you know, you just cannot blame people for being frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Well, the cool thing about Google is they've had in the past, right? And I don't know, maybe it's just me and I haven't paid as much attention lately. But with Vic, there was such a level of communication. I mean, even though we're the product, he treated us like we were his friends. You know what I mean? I mean, there was a lot of communication that came from Vic and his team. I mean, they engaged with us like no other founders of any other platform engage with their people. I mean, I don't see Mark Zuckerberg or any Zuckerberg people engaging with anybody on Facebook. But the Google people, they really engaged with us like a lot, a ton. And I don't know if that's changing now that Vic's gone. What are you guys seeing? Rick, what are you seeing?
Well, I'm like you. I haven't seen much from the new guy. I was trying to think what his name is actually. Sorry.
Oh, I can't even remember what his name is.
Actually. No. I mean, I/O is in like what, a month's time, so hopefully we'll find out loads of new information about and you know, some definitive information about Google Plus then. But yeah, I haven't really heard a huge amount. Certainly not official information about the future of Google Plus since kind of Vic left. Apart from a couple of people from Google apparently dismissed the claims that were made in that TechCrunch article, kind of on an official basis, which was kind of reassuring for us. But yeah, it would be interesting to see kind of what information does come out of their camp in the next few weeks or so.
Hey, Greg, when is the Google I/O?
Oh, just give me a moment to Google the Google I/O.
Yeah. What the heck would we do without Google?
I have a very silly question, but I'm not a tech person. So, what is Google I/O?
It's their conference where they really go over you know, what happened last year and what their forward-moving plan is. It's June 25th.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kit, if you get a chance, YouTube last year's I/O, it's pretty good. The stuff they were talking about there. Even I watched it about a month ago for the first time, and I learned loads from it. Like that I didn't even know existed.
Oh, yeah, we talk about a lot of Google products.
Yes, I think come June 25th, I'm going to be glued to my computer all day.
Yes,
what's next, guys? What's next?
Yeah, I don't get so much.
Nazim says Go ahead, Greg.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, Nazim is getting backlash over in Italy with the reports of the demise of Google Plus as well. It's definitely, clearly an international problem. They could do us.
Problem.
It's going to be an international crisis. They're going to send out diplomats.
I would imagine that they would actually drop some of the services like Google Trends before they dropped Google Plus. I'm not sure if anybody even really knows about Google Trends or even Google Hot Trends. Google Hot Trends is a really cool tool that they use to show what people are searching in real time. And I'll screen share with you and let you see what it looks like. And this is what Google Hot Trends is, and you can see them as they're typing out the searches and what search is actually coming in at #1, and you can see them changing their position all the time. And if I don't want to see so many, I can switch it to 4. So these are the 4 top searches on Google right now. And this kind of service, it's really cool, and can help you benefit if you're trying to write about news that's in the moment. But I couldn't see them continuing this and not Plus.
Hey, Greg, real quick, what's Macaulay Culkin? Why is he trending?
Oh, well, hold on. Let me go back and share that, and let's see what we get. Let me open it up a little bit more so that way I can find him again.
But you would need like a separate screen to visualize this, right? Because it's so quick. So you may need like a separate computer for that to keep
just have on that.
flashing. Yeah. I don't know.
I have no idea why he's getting searched, but he has a couple of news articles about him within the last couple of days. So I imagine that that's what it's about.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay. I was just curious because I haven't heard from him in a while.
I was thinking we must be coming up due for some kind of, like Home Alone reunion or something like that.
I figured Macaulay Culkin's Home Alone would be either from behind bars or the Betty Ford Clinic.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Like they'll have a Home Alone where everybody's at the Betty Ford Clinic and they all go home for the holidays, and they forget to tell Macaulay Culkin that was going to happen. And it just so happens that a bunch of druggies break into the Betty Ford Clinic to steal methadone.
Hey, before we close out, I want to hear from Rick. So we talked a lot about Google Plus, but Rick, I want to hear from you about what some of your other kind of favorite social media platforms are and why.
I mean, for me, it's almost solely Google Plus. I did go through a Pinterest phase, but yeah, I mean, I've kind of lost interest in Facebook to a certain degree because I don't know about you guys, but my feed is just full of rubbish nowadays. I barely see anything from my friends. It's just posts from pages and ads and things and all that sort of stuff. There's nothing of interest in there for me, so I only log in like once every, I don't know, 3 or 4 days now. Twitter, I have a love-hate relationship with. I'll go through phases with Twitter. Although I have to say, I'm loving their new. Have you seen their new kind of interface and everything they rolled out?
You know what? I haven't. I'm like you. I go hot and cold with Twitter, and I've been cold with it for about a month, so I haven't seen some of the updates that they've got going on.
I actually like the old Twitter. I don't know why. I just like the old Twitter. It had its own personality. Now it's like they're just merging, just trying to be like someone else, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I thought you'd like the new Twitter because it looks like Facebook.
Maybe that's why I don't like it, because I appreciate Twitter for its own personality. I'm like Carolyn says, I'm a social media omnivore. I like all the platforms, though. I see strengths and weaknesses in all of them, so I don't get into the whole thing, but yeah, I'm a Facebook gal, so if you had to hashtag me, I'm a Facebook gal.
Yeah, it is a nice new interface.
So we're kind of winding down, so I want to hear final thoughts from everybody. And the way that you guys are in the film strip on my screen is it's Carolyn, Greg, Kit, and Rick. So we'll start with Carolyn. If you have a few final thoughts from today's show.
Well, I mean, I always love sitting down to talk Google Plus with anybody, and I like to talk about the current events bit of it, but I don't know. Sometimes it starts to get a little old to hear the constant refrain of it's a ghost town, it's dying, it's The Walking Dead, it's not going, blah 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 blah. And I think the important thing, to keep focused on is just the relationships that we build here, because even if the worst happens in that highly unlikely event that the worst happens and it does go the way of the dodo, we can connect with each other across other places too. I know I've actually connected with most of you on most of the other platforms that I'm active on. So that the relationship building is the heart of it, not the platform. So that's where I would leave it.
Love it.
Well said. Hey, Greg, final thoughts?
Yep, I have to back that up as well. Not only just the platforms. I know we like to talk about social media and what we have on there like it's ours, like these are our followers, this is my Google Plus page. When the truth of it is they're not. They're really Google's followers, and it's really Google Plus's profile page. Mm-hmm. You just happen to be featured on that profile page, and they allow you to utilize it basically like a free rent. So all of these social networks at one point in time will no longer exist. They will all go away. They're not going to last forever. They might last our lifetime, maybe longer than that, but they will at one point be gone. And it's always a good idea to try and bring people from your social networks to your base camp. Make sure that they're engaging with you on your website, and getting email campaigns going as well, and reach people directly as well as on social networks. Don't just rely on the network. What if Google Plus closed today? What if Facebook closed tomorrow? And then if that's where all your friends and fans are, you're scrambling to try and pick people up on Twitter. Well, guess what? So is everybody else. So, if you create a nice little base for yourself, you're not going to have to worry about these things when they happen. And if people say Google Plus is going to die, you wouldn't care anyways.
Awesome. Well said. Hey, Kit, final thoughts?
They totally just stole my words, so I'm not going to, because I personally think, all these, platform wars and social media, it's great, but really it's the people that matter, it's your content that matters. So, so long as, like Greg said, have a home base for your content, your blog, or, whatever you use, and that's what you should really focus on. Social media should really be a channel to communicate your message. It should not be your message. Okay, because you really do not own any of these networks. So it's whatever network you like. Google Plus is great. I personally love all of them. But don't get so addicted to them that you forget that it's the relationships, like Carolyn said, that really matter. I don't care if any network closes tomorrow. I just want to know that, hey, I can talk to Greg and Carolyn and Jim and Rick anytime I want, and I need to build that kind of connection with these people. So focus on being yourself and building those genuine connections, because that's going to take you much farther ahead in life than any social media. Businesses were here before social media. How did they conduct business? So it's just, I personally believe that all of technology is a fad. It keeps changing. So, just focus on the people, and I think it'll be great. And thank you so much, Rick, for coming on our show. We all have a crush on you. I can speak for the whole panel, I think. So, you're a part of the Get Busy team now. So I think we should add him. What do you say, Jim?
Hey,
to the dream team.
Right, I already proposed that, so we'll see in the green room afterwards what Rick says. But Rick, any final thoughts? And I hope that you enjoyed your first experience here on an HOA, and I'm hoping that it's the first of many.
I did, very much so. It's funny. It's never as scary as you build it up in your head to be.
Right.
After we had that session in the green room at the start, it was, nerves kind of dissipated, and it's fine now. So just to go down a slightly different track in terms of closing thoughts, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, even if Google was to kind of take out the social element of Google Plus, the core elements, like the features of it, like communities, Hangouts particularly, I think they're still going to stay. And Hangouts particularly, going back to the full circle, the topic of this Hangout is kind of a disruptive innovation. It's one of those things that is completely knocked Skype sideways. They don't know what hit them. So I think it's really important for businesses to use this new technology to their advantage, and my advice would be just to get a little bit creative with it. At the moment, there are limitations. You've got to do it in front of your laptop with semi-unprofessional background and things like that. But I think it's the content that you cover in those Hangouts, and it's the way you present certain information and the things that you do in those Hangouts, or shoppable Hangouts, or whatever it might be, that is really going to help businesses. It's kind of, particularly with shoppable Hangouts, it's kind of bringing business back full circle. Whereas, you go into a shop, you chat to the shopkeeper, ask for their advice on a particular product. What do I need to solve this problem, etc. And Hangouts are going to bring that back a bit. So you're going to be able to talk to those owners of these e-commerce stores, ask for advice and things like that. And obviously, the shoppable Hangouts panel is going to allow you to then go and buy those products and things like that. So yeah, I just think it's important that the businesses do kind of realize the power of Google Plus's features, even if they don't realize the power of Google Plus itself. And Hangouts is a perfect example of that. So just get on board, give it a try, differentiate a little bit, try new things, iterate where things don't work, and yeah, let's carry on.
Carry on. Yeah, you know what? I love that, Rick, because here we are. I'm in California, right? We've got 2 people in Orlando, Florida. We've got 1 person in Chicago and another in London, and we're broadcasting in a way that people all over the world can see us, engage with us on the comments section, and because we appreciate our audience so much, we tend to bring them into the film strip when we can as well, and we just meet amazing people. And there's just so many, like you said, there's so many creative and innovative things that can be done with this platform that can't necessarily be done with all of the others. And that's not to denigrate them, that's just to say, hey, businesses, here's an opportunity for you. Most of what you can do here is free and just limited by your imagination. So bring your imagination, give it a go, give it a shot, and let's do this. So yes, Rick, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's been awesome. It's been amazing. And we will for sure bring you into the Dream Team, and you're welcome to come on to the show at any time that you'd like. So once again, hey, Greg, I want you to I'm going to throw it back to you just for a second. I want you to say a few final words about the charity coming up again, just a few words as we close out the show. Take it away.
Don't forget about the event that we're putting on, Carolyn, Dennis Deuce, and myself, all this week. You can find us on various HOAs. We're going to appear and talk about Harbor House and the auction that we're having, and Dennis's walk as well. I'll make sure to post the information in the chat, in this HOA chat. That way everybody can check it out.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you guys. We'll see you all next week on another edition of Get Busy. Take care.
Thanks very much.